Do you have to own the land when you own the property? I'm Tim Diesel, a commercial real estate consultant. Today I want to go through land lease opportunities. And this wasn't a question that was brought up or anything like that, but this was a deal that kind of came to me, and the seller wanted me to help him with this property. So I thought this might be a good opportunity to introduce this concept, or maybe many of you know this, but usually the only time I've seen this in a residential field is maybe it's a condo and the land is leased for 80 years or something like that. So I saw something come up where a seller had a retail building and the land is leased, I think, for another 40 years or whatever, or something like that. Now, this could be a great opportunity if you own a property already, or if you're going to buy a property. So I want to kind of go through this and give you some options. So here's the good and bad thing. If you have a land lease, that's fine. You just need to have a long enough lease that the loan. So if your loan is 30 years or 20 years or 10 years, you want to have your lease supersede that loan, right? So if you're leasing for 50 years and the bank's giving you a 10-year deal, they really don't care. That's fine. It's when the land lease is not long enough, that's when financing becomes an issue. Another thing to note is if you can't depreciate land. So keep in mind, you don't need to own the land necessarily. If you have a good enough lease, you'll be fine. Your cost segregation plays, whatever else you're doing, really doesn't matter whether you own the land or not. If you are selling and maybe you've got really prime real estate, and if you do own the property, and when I say own, I mean own it free and clear, no debt, you can separate the land and lease the land out to the new buyer. Now, we've seen a lot of this, right? Where it's maybe a McDonald's or something like that, like a big franchise, or it could be maybe a giant hotel or a huge thing where the land is leased. This happens a lot. It doesn't necessarily have to be on huge, larger, developments. It could be on smaller stuff. If you see stuff that you own and it's smaller, but it's in a prime location, it's something to consider. Something to consider. Maybe you've had it for a long time and you could sell it. You're not going to get top dollar for it necessarily, right? Because you don't own the land. You're not selling the land, but you'd have to sell that land with a long enough lease. So you couldn't sell the land with a 10-year lease or a 5-year lease unless there's no financing. Then you can kind of do whatever you want. But a bank is going to look at the term of that lease. So if there's a 99-year lease on it, it doesn't really matter. But most of the time I've seen 50. 50 years is plenty. You can get plenty of financing, you can do all your stuff. So don't be scared of those opportunities. If you do see some and you say, hey, the land is, there's a lease on it. The truth is, people don't generally keep their properties for 99 years. Very rare. Is it in the family that long? It's a generational play. So don't look at that way. You can still get a lot of value, a lot of depreciated value just by owning the building. You can't really do much with the land anyway. So if your lease is good enough on that land where you're not paying a ridiculous amount to keep it operable, you can be just fine. So those are something to look for. So if you're going to buy, those are advantageous because you make better offers on that, right? Now, if you're selling, you can definitely do that too. Separate the land, get with an attorney that can help you do this. A realtor won't be able to do this. You have to have someone draw up the contracts, make it nice and neat. Separate the land from the property, lease the land out. So when you're selling the property, that's all they're buying, and then they're automatically in a lease. So now what's happened is you sold the property, you're still generating a little bit of cash flow. Not as much as you were getting, but you're still going to get something, right? That's a really good play because you keep some assets, and the land is still worth something. It's just not worth as much as it would be with the building on there. And you're still generating a little bit of a stream. Another way you want to play that. So hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you so much.